Welcome to Sacred Cow Shipyards, where no ship is safe from being taken down to its nuts and bolts.
You know what? I have plans. I mean, I'm technically a human being by certain definitions and categorizations under a variety of interstellar treaties. But that's all beside the point. I am a sapient, sentient entity that operates these docks, and I have plans. And all of you little squirrely, humy things keep screwing them up. Please stop that. It's expensive. It takes effort. And God knows I'm lazy. But you know what? When someone's talking trash about something that is actually, honestly, kind of, seriously, no joke, moderately effective, I guess I have to stick my less than 2 cents of opinion into the equation somewhere, somehow, kind of, maybe, sort of. I don't even know at this point. I think the takeaway at this point is someone is talking trash about the AT-ST in the Star Wars universe, and well, honestly, that cannot abide. And frankly, we exist in a universe where someone is getting cranky about the possibility of an AT-ST being able to wipe out companies of soldiers in a matter of minutes. And frankly, this is not something that anyone should argue about. This is literally what AT-STs were made to do. Because AT-STs, in the explicit sense, and I use that word intentionally, are designed to infantry the up. That's why they exist. They are meant to slaughter infantry by wholesale and by massive freaking Costco-level quantities. And that is why they are around. Yes, AT-STs are supposed to be scout things, maybe, kind of, sort of, I don't know. But the reality is, they're just supposed to get rid of the weirdos on the edges who are thinking they could get away with maybe, if we shoot this rocket at this AT-AT in exactly the right angle, then maybe we could kill it. Truth is, no, you couldn't. Because the AT-ST had already murdered you by stepping on your head. And traditionally, going all the way back to basically the time that humans domesticated horses, this has always been the job duties of light cavalry. Yes, they do scout enemy positions, but they also protect the flanks and the wings, and then they sweep in for flanking maneuvers when the opportunity presents itself. In fact, given that the AT-ST is, in fact, a scout vehicle, it is highly probable that it was able to slaughter companies of troops in a matter of minutes by accidentally stumbling across, say, a Republic or Rebel or Resistance bivouac, someplace where they were camping. And they got stupid, got lazy, got complacent. It was able to get past their pickets, or maybe it just killed their pickets, and they weren't able to mount an effective defense fast enough. I mean, honestly, AT-STs are almost perfectly immune to small arms fire. So unless the companies in question actually came with anti-armor weaponry, it could just squish everybody and not really care. And I keep talking about how the walker can step on people because really that's one of the nice things about walking mechanized units. But the AT-ST actually mounts a surprising amount of weapons given its size and mass and overall shape. It has 2 chin-mounted blasters, a double cheek-mounted blaster, and a concussion grenade launcher on the other cheek. So, okay, we've got 4 blasters blazing away at little squishy humies trying to run away from it, and then concussion grenades. Apparently, the details of concussion grenades are somewhat vague and nonspecific, but if they're anything like modern United States personnel grenades, they have a fatality radius of at least 5 meters and a life sucks radius of at least 15 meters. And it's just popping these things out. And that's just the base model. The base model has concussion grenades. Upgraded models have mortars that it could fire from a distance as it charges towards an enemy camp or an enemy line, saturating the area with even more explosives. So suddenly, killing a company of men or companies of men really doesn't seem that unrealistic when you realize that this thing can just blaze away.
And then, speaking of, there's a small matter of what exactly is a company. Oddly enough, the term is more or less based off of the Roman legion's concept of a century, in that they believed that it was hard for a commander to know and command more than about 100 troops. Now, over the years, the human concept of a quote-unquote company has grown to maybe 250 troops, but it still stays in the 100 to 250 person range. So, companies, in this case, could mean anywhere between 200 and, say, 1,000 troops. Okay. And let's say that in a matter of minutes is somewhere between 2, because plural, and, say, 15 or 14, because if she meant a quarter of an hour, she probably would have said a quarter of an hour. So, yeah, there's this thing in United States history called the Civil War, and during that, there was something that happened called Pickett's Charge. It lasted about an hour, and resulted in somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 people being killed, 4,000 wounded, and so on and so forth. So, 3,000 in an hour gives us 750 in a quarter of an hour. So, yeah, hold on. Losing companies of men in less than a quarter of an hour is totally a thing. In fact, this was totally a thing when Humies were basically wailing at each other with glorified smoke poles. And realistically, comparing the two is not entirely unreasonable, because apparently in the Star Wars universe, personnel armor just isn't a thing. I mean, barring the Mandalorians, of course, and their magical Beskar, the Stormtrooper armor doesn't do anything. The Republic/Rebellion/whatever don't seem to be interested in armoring their people. So, yeah, I mean, a Civil War era firearm could totally kill one of these guys. Only instead of a Civil War era firearm, we're talking about a literal walking tank. And honestly, personnel blasters are going to be about as effective as that walking tank as a Civil War era firearm. And finally, the other significant detail to consider is that the categorization of taking out a company is vague. Are we talking about killing them all? Are we talking about rendering them combat ineffective? What kind of definition are we going with here? Going back to the Romans again, the term decimated actually came from their notion that if you kill at least 10% of a given unit, that unit is no longer functional. Through morale losses, through communication failures, through coordination lack, through just basically people watching their friends getting killed in front of them. After 10% of a unit is down, it has a very high chance of breaking. And by breaking, I mean literally falling apart. So did this AT-ST knockout kill every single person to knock out these companies? Probably not. Did it kill at least 10%, maybe even 50% of these companies? Almost certainly. The ultimate problem with any kind of perspective on the AT-STs is that we were first introduced to them on Hoth, where it was basically, we're going to chase these guys down as they try to leave the planet. We never got to see the AT-STs do a whole lot. We were too busily focused on Luke and his snowspeeder doing crazy lasso crap with the AT-AT big boys. The AT-STs were just running around blowing stuff up and doing most of the basic work, honestly. And then, unfortunately, we saw them again in Return of the Jedi, where they got their figurative asses handed to them by small teddy bears. And yeah, I can see how that might color someone's perception of their combat efficacy. Unfortunately, that's entirely to do with really crap tactics and not anything at all to do with the actual efficacy of the vehicle. A heavily wooded planet full of indigenous life forms who love using gravity as a weapon is kind of the place where you want to deploy, say, a mountain terrain armored transport or a Juggernaut-class tank, not a spindly-legged walker that can be squished between trees. Now, again, I would like to point out that it took two massive trunks swinging down from a very high height to squish the AT-ST, which is a lot more force brought to bear than companies of men could do with basic blasters. Even heavy repeaters did not seem to phase the AT-ST in the Mandalorian episode. So this all just brings me back to, yeah, this could have totally been a thing. It might have involved the Rebellion / Republic doing a stupid thing, which we have never heard of before. It might have involved dumb luck, or it might have just been an actual battle where something like that happened. The truth is, AT-STs are scary. They're called murder chickens for a reason. And honestly, given that chickens are descendants of dinosaurs and would rip your face off if they were bigger, it's really not that bad of a name. And that's all from Sacred Cow Shipyards. Please be advised that any ship left on the dock for more than 24 hours will be compressed to a cube. Have a good day.